Hi, I'm Lisa Murkowski, and welcome to this edition of the Alaska Report. Now, of all the Alaska reports that we do throughout the year, the ones that we do during the summer are really my favorite. These are the ones where I get to introduce to you some very, very special guests. I have here in the studio my first group of summer interns. And unlike other Alaska reports, the tables are turned, and this time I'm not going to be asking the questions. These interns will have an opportunity to ask questions of me. We've got a pretty unique intern program here in my office back in Washington, D.C. I invite young Alaskans from around the state, young people that have just graduated from high school. They come back here, they spend a month, they shadow me, they go to committee hearings, they engage in basically all the activity that the folks in my office here do. They get a behind-the-scenes glimpse of how the United States Senate works. Each intern has had an opportunity to spend at least 1 or 2 days shadowing me and really trying to understand the ins and outs of the United States Senate. They help my staff do research, they just help around the office, but really more importantly is the attitude that they bring, the enthusiasm about their time here in Washington, D.C. They've been able to get out and explore D.C. a little bit, a very talented group of students. And I'm happy to welcome them to the Alaska Report today and field some of their questions. So we're going to go through the lineup here. Dina, we're going to begin with you. If you can introduce yourself, tell our viewing audience where you're from, and then ask your questions.
Oh, well, good afternoon. My name is Dina Benson. I'm from Fairbanks. I graduated from West Valley High School, and I wanted to ask you what the hardest part about going to and from D.C. every weekend is, and if you had an extra day to add to the week, would you spend it in D.C. or Alaska, and why?
Well, the easy answer is, of course, I would spend an extra day in Alaska. I would spend every extra minute of any day that I could get in Alaska. It's home. It's where I am most passionate. It's where I'm most happy. And I think it's also where I'm very, very productive. So easy answer there. The hardest part going back and forth, quite honestly, is a 4-hour time difference. I've kind of gotten used to the long sit. And even if I'm sitting in a middle row in the back on Alaska Airlines, you just kind of get settled into it. I get a lot of homework done on these flights. But oftentimes it can be very hard, particularly when you're coming from the West Coast, coming from home to Washington, D.C., and that time difference is really tough. I know that when you made the trek back here, it probably took you a couple days to just kind of get back or get into this time zone. So it's a time difference that is hard. But the benefit that I have is when I leave Washington, D.C. to go to Alaska, I pick up 4 hours. So I really do have an extra, at least extra hours to be back home, and that's great. Thanks, Dina. It's good to have you here.
Hi, Senator. I'm Justin Dahlgren from Soldotna, Alaska, and I had a question for you. Mm-hmm. If there was one piece of legislation that you could pass through Congress without any opposition, what would it be?
Well, certainly what I've been working on probably the longest has been the effort to open up ANWR. Extraordinary opportunity for development of Alaska's resources, a great opportunity for us as a state to not only enhance our treasury, but to be able to provide more domestic oil for the country, for the world. We have met with opposition at every turn. We have to get congressional approval in order to access the area in the 1002, even though it's a very small piece that we're asking to access, about 2,000 acres. So if I had my magic wand and could say, one piece of legislation, move it tomorrow with no opposition, it would be to open up ANWR to further opportunity for the people of Alaska and the nation. Thanks. Nice to have you. Tasha.
Hello, Senator. My name is Tasha Boyer, and I'm from Chugiak, Alaska. And my question is, how have you worked to create bipartisanship in the Senate?
Well, bipartisanship is not something that happens by accident. You have to work at it. Like any relationship, you have to work at it. And that means developing friends, connections, finding alliances, finding common interests. There's a host of different ways that I work to do that. As chairman of the Energy Committee, I've been working very closely with the ranking member on that committee, Senator Cantwell from the state of Washington, to try to build a bipartisan energy bill. I, along with the other women of the Senate, we gather for dinners on a somewhat infrequent basis, about every 6 weeks or so. But it's not the Republican women who just gather for dinner, it's all of the women. And we don't necessarily talk about work all the time. We talk about books that we have read, or family issues, or the news of the day, or the hot TV show. So it's about building relationships so that when you have issues that are more difficult, you've got some kind of common tie. You've got something that you can start the conversation with. But again, it takes effort. And it's real easy to say that you work on a bipartisan basis. It's another thing to deliver on that. And that is something that I have looked to what I've done in my time here in the Senate and the relationships that I've established and the work that we've tried to address for Alaska and the nation. And I'm proud to say that I work in a very bipartisan manner. Thanks. Holly.
Hi, my name is Holly O'Brien. I'm from Ketchikan, Alaska. My question was, what efforts do you hope to see the U.S. make in the Arctic while we are chair of the Arctic Council?
Well, the Arctic, as you all have observed in your short time here, is a place that I think is just alive with opportunity. It is that vast, in many cases unexplored area, not unlike what space was 40 or 50 years ago. And so let's capture this enthusiasm. Let's move as a nation, recognizing that we are an Arctic nation. So we have the chairmanship of the Arctic Council now for the next 2 years. This is our time to set the agenda. This is our time to lead. So let's do it instead of just kind of sitting back. I'm pushing hard to make sure that nobody sits back on this issue. We need resources. We need infrastructure like deep water ports, like icebreakers, better mapping of our ocean floors, a better understanding of our science. We need to be doing more when it comes to just understanding what changes in the Arctic with less ice cover, what that's going to mean from a maritime commerce perspective. Let's get on top of these issues. Let's be proactive instead of reactive. Let's work to build alliances in an area where we're free of conflict for the most part right now in the Arctic. There's not too many places in the world where you have kind of a blank slate to set relationships. And we do that in the Arctic, and that's why I get so excited about it. I think for a young person, if you want to set your sights on something that is moving, something that is exciting, look north to the Arctic. Thanks, Holly.
Good afternoon, Senator. My name is Grant Willis Ackerman, and I'm a graduate of West Valley High School in Fairbanks. And I would like to know, what do you think is the best course of action to expedite the Alaska LNG pipeline?
Well, this is a priority for so many of us in Alaska. I think we recognize that our natural gas prospects, the bounty of the resource that we have, is phenomenal. But it doesn't do us much good if we can't move it to the market, and that's what we have been seeking to do for 30 some odd years. We passed a real milestone just a few weeks ago when I invited up the head of the Department of, she wasn't the head of the Department of Energy, she was an undersecretary, but she was there to make the announcement that the conditional authorization for FERC permitting for the Alaska LNG project had been approved. What this signals is pretty significant in terms of the message to the markets. It effectively says, Alaska's ready to move our gas. We're ready to seek partners in purchasing. it was as strong a signal as anything been out there that from the federal side, the support is there for Alaska's natural gas. So there's more that we are working on, making sure that permits move through the process in an expedited manner is important. So we will continue to push on that. The state clearly has its part, but it was a pretty big step over the Memorial Day period to get that conditional authorization going through. So it's good news for Alaskans.
Hi,
We're
Senator.
up to you.
Oh, hi, Senator. I'm Jasper MacNaughton from Juneau. And in your opinion, what is the most important thing we should be focused on or worried about as incoming college freshmen?
Well, my freshman year of college was a long time ago. Let's just put it that way. But I will give you a little bit of advice and a little caution as well. For many, this will be the first time that you are really on your own, making sure that you are getting up for classes in time, making sure that you are eating properly and getting enough sleep rather than your parents telling you what to do. I think most of you have kind of worked through ways that you are better organized and can keep to task. But when you have all of this coming at you at once, sometimes that can be a little bit daunting. The word of caution that I would give to you is one that is in the news a great deal right now, and it's somewhat unsettling. But that is the issue of sexual assault on campuses. Sexual assault that is directed not only at young women, but also at young men. And what we are learning from the data that's coming back is it seems that the most vulnerable time is that first semester of your freshman year. And many of the incidents and the issues that we're seeing arise because of alcohol use, some drug use, the dating drug, and it is something that I think young people need to be very cognizant of, to be very aware, to not put yourself in places where you feel either at risk or threatened, or even just not fully on top of what you need to be doing. So I offer that as a word of caution. I wish that I didn't have to. As a mom of two young men, just a little bit older than you, I wish that we didn't have to deal with these difficult subjects. But this is a reality in today's world. And so I offer that caution. Please have that awareness, and please keep your eyes open for your friends who you feel might be placing themselves in a vulnerable situation. Good question, Jasper. Anthony.
Good afternoon, Senator. My name is Anthony Lekanoff, and I'm a graduate from Mount Edgecombe High School in Sitka, Alaska. And my question was, with the many issues that go on in your day-to-day schedule, which one is going to affect Alaska the most within the next coming months?
Well, within the next coming months, there's a couple things. I'm on the HELP committee, the Health, Education, Labor, Pensions Committee, and we have just completed work on a bill that would effectively fix No Child Left Behind. We call it the ESEA, the Elementary, Secondary, and Education Act. This is an important measure because we've been living under an education law that really hasn't worked well for our state. It hasn't worked well for many states, and so reforms were very, very necessary. We will be hopefully taking that up right after the 4th of July work period, and that is something that will have impact to you. Other areas that we will be focused on that you might see in the coming months are development of an energy bill. I'm the chairman of the Energy Committee. We've been working aggressively to build out energy reform, something that we haven't done since 2007. Think about where you were in 2007. You're a lot younger. And so it's very necessary. My hope is that we will see action on that through the committee before August, and then hopefully have the ability to move that to the floor and update our energy policies. So good substantive issues coming our way. Thanks for your help.
Good afternoon, Senator. My name is Claire Landis, and I'm from Ketchikan, and I recently graduated from Ketchikan High School. And my question for you today is, if you had the chance to change one thing about Alaska, what would it be?
I would really like to eliminate the levels of domestic violence, sexual assault, and youth suicide. We are an amazing state with an amazing population, beautiful people in a beautiful state, and yet we have such a dark side to us, and we see that reflected in statistics that are very chilling. The rates of youth suicide among our young Native men, 14 times the national average. We are number one in the incidence of sexual assault and rape. Our domestic violence statistics, just not acceptable. And so I think about all that we do, all that I try to do to help Alaska be a better place, a stronger economy, better jobs, good education. But if you don't have healthy people who are free from fear in their own homes, it's really tough to make headway. So that's what I would like to see progress in.
Hello, Senator. My name is Kelsey Culligan, and I'm from Wasilla, Alaska. And my question for you today is, what steps should the federal government take to reduce student debt?
Well, student debt, and you're just getting on the beginning of this. And my hope to each of you is that you will not be suffocated by debilitating student debt, because we do see young people that really are limited because of the debt that they take on. I think some of the things that you're seeing here in the Senate and in the Congress to address it, first of all, is an awareness. Don't be taking on more debt unnecessarily. Now you will need to take out loans, but be careful in how you do it. Understand, have a level of financial literacy and awareness. I think that is part of the issue. I think also recognizing that, in fact, there may be areas where you think you want to pursue, and you perhaps have not identified whether or not this is something that you are going to do ultimately when you graduate from that program. So again, it's an awareness, it's being smart in how you access loans in the first place. But there's more that we can be doing at the federal level to make sure that it is less complicated. You need to be able to access these federal resources. Right now, I don't know how many of you had to fill out a FAFSA form with your parents. It is daunting, it is ugly, it's really unacceptable in terms of what it's required. That in and of itself scares many young people away from college. We need to eliminate that barrier. Know that in the HELP committee, the education committee that I serve on, we are working through exactly these issues through legislation that is underway in the committee now. So making sure that we're being smart, making sure that we reduce the barriers, and really working with young people to understand these obligations going forward is a key part of it. Good luck to you. And you're wrapping up, Jenna.
Good afternoon, Senator. My name is Jenna Drey. I'm from North Pole, Alaska, just graduated from North Pole High School. My question for you today would be, during your internship with Senator Stevens, was there a moment when you knew that you wanted to one day work in Congress?
I don't think it was during my time with Senator Stevens that I had that aha moment. I'll be honest with you, I was pretty intimidated when I was back here in Washington, D.C. with Senator Stevens so many years ago. I, like you, had just graduated from high school. I worked in his mailroom. I sorted letters and enjoyed doing that. But I can distinctly remember getting into an elevator with then Senator Ted Kennedy. He's no longer with us, but I actually had an opportunity to serve with him when I came to the Senate. He was in the Senate that long. But I was in the elevator with him, and I was so intimidated just to be in the presence of this mythical senator from Massachusetts. I couldn't even introduce myself. I was more than just a little bit tongue-tied. And I thought, I can remember thinking at that point in time that senators were some just very almost mythical-like figures, although Senator Stevens was certainly not. But I found it very intimidating. And now what I have learned, and what I hope you all have learned, is that senators are normal, everyday people just like you, just like, you know, your teachers, your parents. We get wet in the rain when we get caught in a rainstorm. We can't start the oven when the pilot goes out. We like fish. We like to catch fish. Senators are human beings that are working hard to do a hard job. But yeah, no aha moment there. Well, thank you. You've got not only great energy that you have provided me and my office here in Washington, D.C. during this month, but you've asked some good questions here. I appreciate that. But more important, I appreciate what you have given Alaska through this month here with your public service, because you have helped in many different ways to provide the service that we aspire to our constituents back in Alaska. So hopefully you've enjoyed your time. We've certainly enjoyed having you. And to our viewers who have been with us, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you've enjoyed meeting these fine young Alaskans. They'll be back with you in the state soon. Wish them well as they pursue their next endeavors. And we will see you on the next edition of the Alaska Report. Take care.